Have you been to WholeFoodsMarket recently? If so, how would you define their service as a customer? Well, you would most likely say, it's about more than just groceries. Regarding their beliefs, Whole Foods is reshaping the business practices, revolving around a solid example of conscious capitalism. You see, the stereotypical system of capitalism has undoubtedly brought prosperity to many, but it's not ever near perfection. Issues like worker mistreatment, income inequality, environmental damage, and profit-driven motives often stack up. To define what conscious capitalism is, Forbes said, conscious capitalism is an approach to business that seeks to align profit-making activities with a greater sense of purpose and social responsibility. It's not just about making money and making the company, in turn, bigger. It's about thinking beyond the company's own self-interest and try to contribute to the surroundings that can be impacted by that company directly or indirectly or both. Applying this concept in a business means they should serve the interests of all stakeholders, including employees, customers, suppliers, communities, and the environment. Instead of focusing on maximizing the shareholders' value and rewarding the bosses of the world, conscious capitalism brings out a bigger picture. According to the Motley Fool, Costco, Trader Joe's, and Starbucks practice conscious capitalism. Here, Costco treats its employees well, even as it offers customers competitively priced goods. And Trader Joe's pays a good remuneration so that employees stay motivated and work in a progressive environment. Also, Starbucks promotes equal opportunities in the workforce while being deeply committed to diversity. Now, another example of a company that follows conscious capitalism is Waste Management, Inc. This company has turned waste management into an opportunity for environmental sustainability and profit through innovative recycling and composting programs. What you see here is a major shift towards conscious capitalism, which denotes a transformative movement to reshape the business. So, the next time you shop for groceries at a nearby Whole Foods market or see a waste management truck on the road, do remind yourself that you're supporting more than just a business. You're contributing to a vision of a better, more conscious world as a whole. Capitalism has divested many underprivileged people out of poverty and subsequently improved their living standards. It's about creating value for others and progressing forward. However, capitalism isn't even near perfection. Regardless of its motive to free the business out of any regulatory governing act, it taps into personal interest too. It raises problems like exploiting workers, unequal incomes, harming the environment, and focusing excessively on profits. But there's a new idea that has the potential to fix these issues that is nothing but conscious capitalism. It is a new approach to how businesses operate independently from the setbacks of capitalism. The negativity that revolves around the concept of capitalism can be diminished through conscious capitalism. It mainly focuses on being socially and environmentally responsible. The bright side here is, 2 successful companies have already adopted these very recent conscious capitalistic ideas and are already making changes. Fortunately enough, they're involving their employees more to engage unlike ever before and being mindful of their impact on the environment. By working together with customers, communities, and governments, envisaging conscious capitalism in a new light can become a reality sooner than anyone realizes. Capitalism is an economic system that aims at individuals and businesses to benefit financially. It's responsible for lifting billions out of poverty and thus improving their living standards globally and extending overall life expectancy. Now question yourself. In this era, are you forced to buy something from the supermarket that you don't really fancy? For instance, you are not bound to get packaged bagels from a supermarket. You perhaps like it better freshly made from the nearby cafe or bakery. The staff in the supermarket can never compel you to get it if you don't want it. Likewise, if your boss is troubling you to meet deadlines after deadlines along with working late that you can't endure any longer, you have the right to relinquish by showing reasons with a notice period. As long as you're not bound by a legal contract, you have full rights to leave the company and look for other opportunities elsewhere. So this is where capitalism is reflected. What it basically does is offer you a chance to choose for yourself. In more simpler words, capitalism thrives on a free market where economic decisions are made voluntarily between buyers and sellers. No wonder. Businesses have the goal to make profits, and individuals have the freedom to choose what they buy and where they work. It's the driving force behind growth and innovation. Throughout history, people have traded goods and services, but capitalism arises when ownership expands and mass production begins. Unlike communism or socialism, where the government controls distribution, capitalism relies on businesses meeting consumer demands and needs. Let's talk about economic growth by looking back at the original concept of capitalism. It's easy to wonder where this concept has derived from. It significantly started during World War II. The mass production of military equipment like tanks and aircraft played a major role in lifting the American economy amid the crisis. This period introduced a new statistical measure called GDP, or Gross Domestic Product, which calculated the output of goods and services. The idea was simple. If production increased, so would prosperity. This belief was so strong that it permeated across economic policy worldwide. In the post-war era, Western economies experienced remarkable growth, with annual rates reaching up to 8%. This period was dubbed the Golden Age of Capitalism in the US, the 30 Glorious Years in France, and the Economic Miracle in Germany. People shaped their collective consciousness while having material wealth and full employment. Despite the fact that much of this growth came as the courtesy of massive destruction resulting from the wartime, the faith in economic growth remained constant. GDP became the ultimate benchmark for measuring progress and success. The idea was that bigger meant better, and this notion of growth became deeply ingrained in society. Moving on to the idea of capitalism's dark side. While capitalism is not free of its own set of flaws, businesses may exploit workers, consumers, and governments, which showcase unfair advantages. And this can lead to significant inequalities between different socioeconomic groups. Now, it's time to hear what an expert has to share. Dr. Raj Sisodia is a professor of global business at Babson College. He is one of the pioneers of the conscious capitalism movement and has authored multiple works on the topic, including various books and articles. In his words, there's a deep frustration among mass people that businesses are annexing more imperious control than the government itself, which could harm the society. Conscious capitalism restructures how capitalism works and addresses these issues through businesses, rather than the interference of the governments or other entities. Another significant figure in the conscious capitalism movement is the co-CEO and co-founder of WholeFoodsMarket, John Mackey. He explains that conscious capitalism isn't created to obliterate the very basic meaning of capitalism itself, but rather a more thoughtful approach to it. He believes that while some criticize business for being solely profit-driven, it's actually a creator of value in the world. A lot of people may associate business with greed and exploitation, but there's always room for improvement in it, especially through implementing the values and principles of conscious capitalism. Here's another question for you. What is your definition of an ideal leader? Definitely not someone who bosses people around, plays blame-shifting game with the subordinates when things go wrong, and takes the credit on behalf of the team in the case of achieving something valuable. In honesty, a true leader looks beyond getting work done by others. He goes as far as working with you, working for you, and paves the way to your career advancement and growth. Speaking of such leadership, there's a term called servant leadership. Before talking further about it, let's enlighten ourselves on what the 4 key pillars of conscious capitalism are. Firstly, it's driven by a higher purpose, something meaningful that resonates with people, such as making a positive impact on society. Secondly, conscious companies prioritize creating value for all stakeholders, not just shareholders. This includes customers, employees, the community, and the environment. Thirdly, the leaders of conscious companies are passionate about the company's purpose and prioritize caring for people and the planet. They focus on mentoring, motivating, and inspiring their teams, rather than solely on their own ambitions. And the 4th pillar is about conscious capitalism that draws attention to creating a supportive work culture where employees are valued and encouraged to perform better. By treating employees as valuable individuals, companies can bring forth significant potential for value creation and innovation. To quench your interest further, why don't we turn a few pages of the book written by these 2 masterminds? Well, about leadership, both of them agreed on something mutual. Conscious leadership matters the most. The book focuses on how authentic leadership goes hand in hand with conscious leadership. Here, something interesting comes to attention. The most authentic leaders integrate their hearts with their mind to combine self-awareness and emotional intelligence at a time, which also encourages others in the surrounding vicinity. Since a lot of leaders in the past were criticized for not standing up to expectations, developing conscious and ethical leaders is to rebuild trust and reliability, especially from the capitalistic point of view. In most American workplaces, workers grew a common anguish when they were treated trivially. This dissatisfaction often comes from the frustration when the employees realized that the companies they seemed to value more than anything were focusing on all but prioritizing profit above all else, which neglect the well-being and fulfillment of their workers. This issue isn't new. It has roots in the early days of industrial America, where workers were treated as mere cogs in the machinery of production. Under this paradigm, employees were seen as expendable resources, and their needs and desires were disregarded in favor of maximizing profits. As a result, discontentment and disengagement were visible among the workforce. David Boaz, Executive Vice President of the Cato Institute, talks about the importance of treating employees well in the modern capitalist society. Every individual desires to be treated with respect and fairness in the workplace. However, the aspect of fair treatment can vary significantly from one person to another. While some employees may prioritize higher financial compensation, others may value flexible work hours, opportunities for professional development, or a supportive work environment. For instance, would you be happier if you got a salary increment in 2 months? Or getting off of work early to take your kids bowling sounds better? The choice depends on you, as in how you expect to be treated well with respect in a liberal capitalist society. But the definition of well may differ based on your own preferences. Now let us draw our attention to John Mackey, a notable figure in the conscious capitalism movement and the co-founder of WholeFoodsMarket. For him, customers and their needs take precedence over anything else at WholeFoodsMarket. With around 445 stores in various locations, $16 billion of annual sales, and 90,000 team members, Whole Foods has adopted a distinctive leadership style, namely servant leadership. In his view, conscious businesses foster a culture that prioritizes the flourishing and well-being of all individuals involved. At Whole Foods, teamwork is highly valued in their hiring process, from entry-level positions to store leadership roles. That's what the experienced store employees swear by themselves. They believe in collaborative decision-making to make sure that everyone is involved in the hiring process. There's no doubt, employee happiness is a top priority here. They understand that happy employees lead to satisfied customers. They also operate with a decentralized structure. For reference, each store is divided into various teams, such as bakery, produce, and meat, where each team has the right to make autonomous decisions, as in, they are at liberty to select their own leaders and manage their respective areas. Another thing to keep in mind is their policy of wages. For nearly 2 decades, it has consistently been listed among Fortune magazine's top 100 companies to work for. Additionally, the company follows a rule where executive salaries can't be more than 19 times the average worker's pay. This is to make sure there's not too much of a difference in how much people get paid. You will often hear about employee mistreatment in many small to reputed companies. Yet they seem to run their businesses due to recurring customers and enduring employees. Is that a healthy practice? Not exactly. This is where Whole Foods' success outnumbers others. They are mastering both values, along with well-treatment of employees. This challenges the notion that companies must prioritize profits at the expense of employee well-being. Instead, it demonstrates that investing in employees can lead to sustainable business success. So, the conscious capitalism that Whole Foods practices is a perfect model that any company can adopt. By focusing on ethical sourcing, positive working conditions, and employee satisfaction, companies can create value for employees and customers simultaneously. Moreover, their focus on ethical suppliers and friendly workplaces demonstrates how businesses can grow while making a positive impact on society. In 2015, Whole Foods had a remarkably low employee turnover rate of 14%, compared to the national average of 47% in grocery retail. This significant difference reduces the costs of hiring and training new staff, as well as creating a more stable and knowledgeable workforce. Isn't it natural? Happy employees create a more positive work environment. That's a universal truth for any type of company. Do you know what the employees at Whole Foods are addressed as? Not staff, not employees, not even store workers. They are called team members or teammates to build a sense of autonomy and reliability. Such a team member at Whole Foods shared his experience of starting as a cleanup boy 9 years ago. He learned valuable skills from his senior colleagues, which not only improved his professional abilities as a meat cutter and communicator, but also helped him grow as a person. This reflects the company's commitment to employee development and mentorship. The team members are encouraged to innovate and test new ideas without needing prior approval. This culture of freedom and experimentation is exemplified by the launching of their first bar in Santa Rosa, California, about 6 or 7 years ago. The team there introduced the bar independently, and it quickly became a massive success when it outperformed the seafood sales in just a few weeks. This indicates how a healthy corporate culture acts like an immune system to welcoming new ideas in order to evolve continuously. Here, team members have the freedom to experiment with new concepts. If an idea works out, it can be expanded and refined. And if it doesn't, it can be discarded without fear. This approach not only encourages innovation, but also helps the company stay dynamic and responsive to changing market demands. At Whole Foods, team members feel valued because their opinions are genuinely welcomed. Unlike some other retailers, Whole Foods maintains an open-door policy where feedback from employees is encouraged and considered. Conscious capitalism, practiced by Book at Whole Foods, involves thoughtful business practices. It's about creating meaningful partnerships with vendors and suppliers and ensuring that new team members feel valued. This approach extends to every aspect of business to create a positive experience for customers from start to finish. Mackie envisions a community where people care about each other. He believes that one of the most underrated qualities of a good conscious business is the sense of love and care among its members. This community spirit has the potential to create a supportive and collaborative work environment. Also, David Boaz from the Cato Institute believes that the basics of a civilized society are learned early in life. It starts from respecting others, not taking others' things, and honoring your commitments. But beyond all that, he prefers minimal government intervention. He argues that most societal decisions should be made through voluntary interactions among people. On the other hand, Dean Baker, co-founder of the Center for Economic and Policy Research, talks about the need for the government to establish and enforce rules. Without such regulations, the economy could descend into chaos and end up being a pirate economy. Therefore, the government's role helps maintain stability and fairness in the market. Conscious capitalism doesn't stray from the principles of a free market, but rather incorporates values that prevent unethical practices. It seeks to address the flaws and abuses seen in traditional capitalism by promoting ethical behavior and social responsibility. So, Whole Foods and the principles of conscious capitalism portray the importance of employee involvement, thoughtful business practices, and a supportive community. For hundreds of years, businesses have utilized penny-wise, pound-foolish mechanisms by prioritizing short-term profits. It was exercised by exploiting natural resources without thinking about the long-term sustainability of the environment. Such cynical threats to the environment have been long panned by the growing communities across the world. While significant prosperity has been achieved over the last 200 years, the cost of this progress may be too high. Dr. Raj points out that our methods of generating wealth have caused significant harm in terms of environmental degradation and public health. As such, the overuse of natural resources and the rise in chronic diseases like cancer and diabetes are alarming trends that underpin the nature of our current capitalistic practices. Therefore, such misdemeanors demanded a re-evaluation of capitalism. The goal is to trade off economic benefits while uplifting the health of our environment or society. So, a sustainable model is essential for our long-term survival and the well-being of future generations. Now, the concept about traditional and modern-day capitalism should be crystal clear to you. Here comes the interesting bit. Did you know the municipal solid waste generation is predicted to grow from 2.1 billion tons in 2023 to 3.8 billion tons by 2050? Don't take our words for granted, as it's a staggering prediction made by the United Nations Environment Programme. Luckily, one company has tackled a growing environmental issue and turned it into a mission and a profit at the same time. Waste Management Inc. is a leader in trash and recycling. The CEO of Waste Management, David P. Steiner, talks about how they balance making money with doing good. Unlike government agencies or charities, they're a business, so they need to make money to keep going. But here's the thing, every company needs cash flow to stay afloat. What makes Waste Management stand out is their commitment to doing good while making money. They gave their employees the power to tackle landfill contamination, and it paid off big time. This move led to a breakthrough, turning trash into treasure. As they dug deeper, Waste Management realized something eye-opening. The stuff they pick up every day is worth a lot. By sorting and selling these materials, they raked in a whopping $13 billion in revenue. It's a perfect example of how being environmentally friendly can also be profitable. Every day, Waste Management's facility in Azusa, California processes over 500 tons of recyclables. This operation reduces landfill waste and creates revenue by selling reusable materials. As the largest residential recycler in North America, Waste Management recovers more than 14 million tons of material each year. At the Azusa facility, built in 2014, mixed recyclables from Southern California are separated. Cardboard and newspapers are sorted out first, followed by bottles, cans, glass, and metal, which are separated by size using screens. When Waste Management needed to slow down the filling of their landfills, they saw another business opportunity. They started an organics recycling program at one of their sites in Northern California. This program handles about 1,200 tons of organic waste daily, half of which is composted instead of being dumped in the landfill. Before 1996, green waste was either landfilled or used as alternative daily cover, which was a layer placed over garbage at the end of the day. Then, they began composting green waste, which has become necessary as the area's composting needs have grown. Have you ever wondered if they also work with tons of food scraps? Well, they also take yard waste, landscape waste, and food scraps from residential customers. This organic material is transformed into compost, ready to be used by gardeners and farmers who originally generated the food scraps. This cycle not only keeps organic waste out of landfills, but also turns it into a valuable product for the community. A valuable staff of the company shared, a few years ago, Waste Management set a target to recycle 20 million tons of material by 2020. This target was based on the volume of waste they handle in their landfills and their projections for achievable diversion rates. They actively involve their customers in these efforts so that they understand and support the recycling objectives. Yet one of their most innovative recycling programs came from managing a massive landfill filled with decades of trash. This site holds about 47 million tons of waste, which naturally breaks down and produces landfill gas, primarily composed of methane and CO2. In the mid-1980s, they recognized this gas as a valuable resource. As a solution, the employees suggested investing in a long-term work process of constructing a plant to convert the methane from the landfill into liquefied natural gas, LNG. When evaluating the feasibility of an LNG plant, they considered location and purpose. This particular site was ideal due to its size, the community's and customers' openness to innovative solutions, and the abundant supply of landfill gas. By turning landfill methane into LNG, Waste Management not only reduces greenhouse gas emissions, but also generates a sustainable energy source. At Waste Management Inc.'s Altamont landfill, they have developed something called an environmental closed loop. This system starts with the waste collection process. They pick up waste from various communities and deposit it into the landfill. As the waste decomposes, it generates methane gas, a greenhouse gas that is 22 times more harmful than carbon dioxide. If this waste were to decompose in a backyard, it would release methane directly into the atmosphere. However, at this landfill, they capture this methane gas to prevent it from diffusing into the environment. Instead of allowing the methane to escape, they convert it into liquefied natural gas, LNG. This LNG is then used to fuel the same trucks that collect waste from the communities and bring it back to the landfill, which effectively closes the loop. The process doesn't just prevent the release of methane, but provides a sustainable fuel source for the operations. Also, the plant at the landfill processes about 2,500 cubic feet of landfill gas per minute. From this gas, They produce approximately 13,000 gallons of LNG each day. This amount of fuel is enough to power over 300 garbage trucks, and they distribute this fuel to multiple locations throughout California, starting from San Diego all the way to the Bay Area. If you take a look at their annual report, Waste Management serves 21 million customers and employs nearly 43,000 people. Their success is heavily reliant on their employees, who are essential in the fight for saving the environment. These employees work on the core part of recycling to ensure that high-quality materials are collected. Although Whole Foods and Waste Management are pioneering new business approaches, there are other companies seeking to exploit the system. However, conscious capitalism offers a different perspective. Coming back to Dr. Raj again, he states, conscious capitalism isn't exactly revolutionary. It rather aligns with ancient wisdom, like the Golden Rule, which advocates for treating others as you wish to be treated. This philosophy may often be overlooked in modern work environments, but it serves as a foundational principle even today. On the other side, John talks about becoming more conscious about business and identifying and addressing harmful cultural elements that hinder employee happiness and well-being. Conscious capitalism comes into view as a response to the challenges that are inherent in a market-driven system. One significant outcome of conscious capitalism is mentionable here. It is the confidence it forms in customers and stakeholders. By ensuring that every investment decision benefits shareholders and the environment, businesses seek collaboration and support from customers, communities, and governments. In the evolving economy, the American dream isn't solely about attaining wealth or achieving middle-class status. It's about utilizing the right ways to provide for yourself and your family for a secure life with peace of mind. As a concluding remark, Dr. Raj conjures up an image of transforming lives if conscious capitalism becomes the standard business practice. This transformation hinges on businesses prioritizing ethical conduct with a view to providing liberty to the individuals who want to do what is right for themselves and others. By paying heed to these principles sincerely, there's a ray of hope in the future for continuous improvement and prosperity. With all things being said, it's evident that a paradigm shift is underway in the business world with conscious capitalism. Through the examples set by companies like WholeFoodsMarket and Waste Management Inc., a transformative power of prioritizing values beyond mere profit comes into play. These companies have created a mark with such success that can incorporate social responsibility, environmental sustainability, and employee well-being. About the principles of conscious capitalism, it offers a roadmap for businesses to thrive while contributing to the greater good at the same time. By aligning their actions with a higher purpose and prioritizing the well-being of all stakeholders, companies can encourage and establish a more equitable and sustainable economy. So now, to what extent do you support conscious capitalism? Do you know of such companies that follow the principles of conscious capitalism? If so, do share with us.